All right. Hello, hello. Testing my microphone right now. All right. If my mic is really low, you're going to need to turn your audio up. This is a toy house tutorial. I'm going to be uploading this to my Google Drive, and maybe I'll upload it to my main account on YouTube, Lou Frog. If you're seeing it on YouTube, congrats, you've found my tutorial. I wanted to make this because I've been inviting a lot of friends as well as my followers to Toy House, since that's where I mostly sell my designs. We're going to be using my alt account for the examples here of how to manage your account and just kind of get used to using Toy House. I will say I am on PC. This is where I find using the website much more easily. Everything is the same on mobile. The only difference is that there will be a drop down. So you see how this drops down here? It's going to be more like a giant drop down with all the options. It's a little bit more overwhelming, but I would recommend spending a little bit of time and just kind of clicking on all the buttons and just going through everything. So we're going to start with the basics. So this is including your profile. So what you're seeing in the main page, what you see right here, you see my little frog character, basic image, the little blurb, and your profile picture and username. So when we go into the settings here, all right, I'm going to be censoring some of this stuff so you guys don't steal my information. But you're going to have your name, your email, and your date of birth, as well as, you're going to have your avatar here. I'm going to show you how to change your avatar. What you're going to do is, I don't know if they added this feature, but most likely you're going to have to crop it yourself. But I'm going to be using, we're going to just find a new profile picture here. We'll use my silly character. Um, we'll just use this sentinel drawing instead. Here, we'll crop it like that. Now that's how you upload a profile picture. And then, so that's the most important. This is the default page when you go to click on your profile or settings. So how you get here, so from your main page, you're going to go over to your settings, and it's going to bring you to general settings. This is where you set up your profile picture, and you make sure your username is correct and your email as well as your date of birth. So underneath general settings on the left side of your screen, you will be able to change display settings. I have my display settings on the default theme here, but on my other account, I have the night theme. It just depends on what you prefer. So we'll sift through the themes. There's version but pink. There's teal. I think this one's actually what I use on my main account, but there's yellow and there's velvet, and you can pick whichever one. We're gonna be going with default for the rest of the video here. And then there'll be your content filters. You'll it'll basically ask you what would you like to see or what you don't want to see when you're browsing. This will be your code and what's going to show up on your page. So this will include your profile, any writing literatures that you have made, bulletins. I will say, if you are trying to advertise adopts or designs, you would want to keep bulletins on your made page. You can also have forums or your forum posts, your comments, and your messages. So these are all settings that you can have on your page here. So underneath this is your interactions, just what people's allowed to interact with. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip to profile content. This is where you're going to get your customization for your profile to make it look nice. I will show you what my main account looks like, and we will go and click on that to show you what it looks like on how my stuff looks. I have a nice image. I also have a GIF, multiple GIFs. I think having GIFs and images showcasing your art or your favorite your interests is a good way to kind of lead people into your account. If you're just kind of doing things for fun, If you're more of a professional, you should have links in your bio to your portfolio or your commissions. For example, I have my other socials link here, which you would be able to click. And then I also have other ads to different things on here. But you'll see why I mentioned earlier about the bulletin stuff, because if I scroll down, you'll see my bulletin here where I'm advertising my latest commission slots that I've opened. You can show your featured characters, and I will show you later in the video tutorial how to get your characters to show up like this. On my page, it's randomized. It'll go through different characters that I want to be shown. And then here's like recent characters that you've obtained or you've designed. So that will show up right here. And then here's comments. And you can customize this however you like. You can also remove extra things and just have your profile blurb. You can add little things like page dolls. That's what you see right here, where you have my little character following you as you scroll. It's a really nice detail. Those are just little niceties that you can have. And this is using base toyhouse. This is not with subscription yet. I will get into that later. So we're going to go back to our page account profile here. Let's say you've written your little bio here from this account. This is my alternate account where I use it for my not safe for work, my bases, my doodles, just everything that I don't want to be shown in my main account. Some people have alternate accounts like this just for that purpose. I like to keep a lot of my things professional on my main account. So when people go and click on art, they're mostly finding art that I make that is mostly most of the time full rendered, or animation pieces and stuff like that. So it just depends. So now we're going to go down to blurbs. This is where you're going to edit how you want things to be organized. So these are like your art, your favorites, your worlds, and that will show up on the bar in the corner when you go to click on people's profiles here. Same with featured characters and comments, and that's pretty much all you need to know. You can do more research on how to do HTML or CSS, but I will say you have to have CSS, and that's a premium. You have to buy the subscription on toyhouse to get the CSS. Most people, you won't need it. You can just figure things out with HTML and just the profile content. That's what I did for my main account here, because if I ever lose my premium, it's still going to be the same. And everything else here is just more specific character stuff, such as like your profile history, all the sheets that you have for your code, profile warnings. I will recommend putting profile warnings if you have 18 plus content on your account. Other than that, you don't really have to think about this. Then all the character settings, we will be getting into submitting characters next. So for the next part of this, we're going to talk about character uploads and how to do that. And you don't have to worry about the character settings just yet. So we're going to go and we're going to do a test character here. So let's go and use this little frog here. So you would select your image and you would put it in your character avatar. You don't have to have an image, but it's very preferable if you do have an image and it catches people's attention on the main page of the website. And we're just saying we're making a character just because we have our own story and we want to add them to just catalog everything. So we're going to name them Frog. And you don't have a folder yet. We're going to pretend you don't have a folder yet. So then we're going to continue. You can change the visibility if you want your character to be publicly seen, only to users who have a toy house. And authorized means you all have to specifically go to an account and you have to authorize that account. So you have to manually do this if you want to have authorized only. And certain lists is the same thing, but it's a little bit more in depth. You'd have to have authorized users, and then you'll put them into certain lists. And then there's only me, which is self-explanatory. It's just for you. We have your tags. So let's say your character is like an anthropomorphic animal or furry. You would say anthro, furry, so on, so on. Oh, it already submitted. So our character is not an anthro-furry. Ours is a feral frog. And then you would put all your other tags that you want to add, such as like green, or if they were adoptable, you would type adoptable, or depending on the adoptable, you would use certain terms like flat sale. That means you are only accepting money for that character, or OTA, offer to adopt, or offer to adopt. So just depending on what you're looking for. There's further features here, which are fields, and I will come back to this, but this is just like making your character a little bit more interesting. We're going to go use one of my own characters to show this for an example of what it would look like. So let's click on this character. So this character, when you type in field, the field here has the designer, and the designer here is this artist Soggy tier. And obviously this is a character that I adopted from a group that has multiple artists and stuff, so that's why they have the fields. If you are partaking in collaborations, you may want to use this, or you can use this just to show information of your characters, such as this one here, where it has the species, the status, the theme, the base value, and so on. Or sometimes you can have the name, the age, and whatever other information you would like for your character. And then the blurb down here is where you would put the character story or more information that you would like to put about your character here. What I like to do in this section is I like to put so for here, you can see I put this character's pronouns and the description here. I would be doing the same for this frog here. So when you submit a character, I accidentally submitted too early, you would be able to scroll down and it would say character credits. So if you were the creator of this character, you would say, I'm the creator of this design. If you are not the creator, you would have two options. Find the on-site creator. So for example, I'm on site, so my handle Lou Frog, you would type Lou Frog. But if I wasn't on the site, you would instead, let's say, find my Twitter, and then, or link to my card.co, and then you would link that instead. And another thing, when you're designing, you can have a terms of service or terms of use of that character if you're making an adoptable or a design that you plan to sell. And one of the things is you can change this tradability here. Everybody's default is going to be cannot transfer, but you'll have to go into your settings to change this to whatever your universal settings will be. And for me, I always have my universal settings as regraph, trade, and resell. It just depends on the creator. And while you're submitting a character, you will want to also add their image to upload image. And this is where you're going to submit their reference, and so on. And once again, same with the credits, on site, off site. If it's you would just have it already automatically puts your own username. There's different privacies for your images. So this includes full-sized, so that means people can see the full-sized image and download it. You wouldn't, and for most, I will recommend you to put watermarked. You can make your own custom watermarks on here, but if you don't know, which later I'll show you how to do that. I don't personally use a custom watermark, but you can make one. And so forth. And then there's the not safe for work settings here. If you have a character that is more explicit, you can use these filters and warnings. But because I messed up with my frog character here, what I get to show you is how we use the images now. So you would go to submit, instead of submit character, you're going to go down, skip bulletin, and click submit image. And then you're going to click on your character here that you want to add. And then one of the things is that you're going to be able to do is when you go to your characters, you're going to click select, and you're going to select the character that you want to add the image to. And then once again, here's the credits for artist stuff. And let's say we want to watermark our images for both authorized and public viewers. So then we'll upload the image. Voila. We have our little frog with their reference. That's so cute. So that's how you simply just add something. But let's say you want to edit your character, or you want to add more information. So what you're going to do is so let's say you go on your characters. So you're on your main page. You're going to click on your characters, and you're going to click on the character that you want to edit. So then you have all these different options, and the only ones you really have to care about is manage character, and that's pretty much it. So what you're going to do is, let's say you want to change the avatar. Then there you would click on avatar here, and then you would edit the avatar to give them the proper profile picture that you would like to give them. Or let's say you want to change the bio, then you would click on edit profile, and let's say we want to say ribbit in their description, and you do so, and then you can update your character, and then that will show up on your character's page when it's, and also this is how you know it's been edited. It'll say the character has been edited on the top. All right, and then here's extra stuff. You don't have to do this, but some people do. I'm going to do a crash course really quick. Here's one of my characters with all this information. They also have a lot of tabs. And this, how you use tabs is you will put an avatar and you will say what tab name is. Let's say this is the reference tab. And your tab can be based on the sub gallery. So what I have for my character here is a sub gallery. So when you click on the character and then check on view more of their recent images, you can see each of their images being cataloged by different types of art. For me, I like to do references, art by others, and then my own art, and then so on. You can change this however. Some people like to do full bodies, headshots, and half bodies for how they organize their system. So it's just based on what you want to do. But for us, we're going to do a sub gallery with the reference, and we're going to attach it to our character frog, and we want the tab to be public. Hooray! I know it doesn't look like it, so you're going to actually have to do, and I will show you how to add the image to the tab in a second. So the other types of tabs is a full tab. So let's say you have an old design that you don't want to show anymore. I have a character here. We're actually going to go into one of my characters here. We're going to go into this profile and click on this character. This character has gone through a lot of different redesigns, and if you see over here, here's the different types of tabs that you can have, and then there's the sub gallery tabs, which we would have the reference and art, but we're focusing on the full tab. So this is a full tab. It shows the old art and can also have a description up here. This is the 2024 design, and I would not like people to use it, so I put all the artwork in this tab, and it's hidden away from the character's main view. Most people are going to look at your main page, and they're not going to look at these secondary pages. But sometimes people like to put all their artwork on these secondary pages instead of the first one. It just depends on what people like to do. So we're going to say old reference for the frog, and we're going to do a basic gallery. It also explains to you what kind of tabs are here. So basic tabs are going to be a gallery, alternate forms, and you're going to be able to click on it. This is a basic tab. Full tabs, on the other hand, which I'm going to show you an example of what they look like really quick using this account here. I have a character named Simon who is based on my plushie here. This is the main profile tab. Now, let's say we want to make a full tab. So, this is where you can make a character who has an alternate universe version of them or just a different form. You can make a full profile. And if I were to show you what it looks like he has his own profile tab. So it's just a way for people to organize characters or different characters with different forms. This character has been heavily redesigned since I've shown this version of this character. All right, so that is the overview of tabs. There's the history of the character. This will show you the edits, their transfer ships, and how they have been handled. There's the warnings. So let's say your character is a mature character. You're going to click on mature for not safe for work. Or let's say they have specific content warnings, such as their story has something very sensitive, like eating babies. You would say, "Uh-oh, my character eats babies" in here. So, all right. And then access keys. I don't know how to use that, so I'm not going to teach you how to use that. That's a later me problem. But it does also tell you what it does. So if you are ever curious. All right, trade listings. This character, okay. This character cannot be transferred. Okay, so this is when you make a character. If you're selling characters, you will need to change the permissions to resell and so forth. So you can add trade listings. This will be very important for when you make adoptables or designs. But if you're just making a character because you love them and you just want to make them for fun, you don't have to worry about that. All right, so that's how you make a character and you submit an image. If you want a secret little faster way, if you're on PC, you can copy the string of numbers of this character, and let's say you want to add another piece of art for them. So you're going to actually go to the characters here when you submit. So when you submit art, an image, you're going to go to the characters here, and you can search by ID, and it will actually pop up the ID of the character, and you can submit it that way. It's a much faster way of submitting images. But that is how you submit images. You make a character and submit images. So let's move on to organization. As you can see on this profile and also on my main profile, I have a lot of folders. This is something that you will use for organizing your characters, what's your stories, or what are your designs that you're putting up for sale. For here, I'm going to show mine. I have my main OCs. This includes my mascots, my sonas, and other so-and-so characters. This is where you can find my avatars and my characters that I use to represent myself. And if I go back, I can show you my different stories I have, and you can make folders within folders, and so forth. So we're going to show you how to make a folder now. So starting with going to your Dropbox after you click on your name, it's going to drop down these different options, and you want to click folders. And this is your main page is going to look empty, but you're going to want to create a folder, and you're going to have the option to make a thumbnail. I recommend, for a lot of people, they like to use really cool GIFs. They like to make their own custom thumbnails. It really just depends on the person. I personally like to use a lot of GIFs. I think it looks pretty, but you do not have to. Then you would have the folder name. So for me, I have main OCs. These are characters that I heavily love, etc. Or story characters, and you can just name it whatever. You can name it the series of your idea that you're planning, and so forth. And then this is parent folder is going to be something that's important. So you're going to use this after. So let's say you've made your folder already. You're going to use this to subdivide folder groups. So like I said, when I clicked on my story OCs, you notice that I have different story universes that you can click on, and shows you more. So that's what you're going to be using parent folder for, and you would be tying all those folders to those respective groupings. And privacy, very self-explanatory. There's the different sort. You can sort the folders by default name and so forth. Um, or you can manually sort your folders through the folder management tab, which we are in the create folder tab right now. There's the different styles. So there's the nested, which is the default. So nested is going to look like this. When you click on your folder, it's going to show you more folders. Then there is flattened. So it will show everything on a single page. So let me see if I can find an example. Oh, perfect, right here. So in my other mains folder, you'll see that I have multiple different other folders in here. But because it's flattened, it shows you all the different subgroups that are here. So I have like my dragons, my cats, my sugary inspired characters, my characters that are low-key Donkey Kong themed, and so on and so on. You can do the same for your folder here. And then you would type a blurb. As you can see, for some of my folders here, I like to type like little blurbs of like, oh, these are my favorite characters, or this is the story. And sometimes you can do more with your blurbs. Just like your profile, you can also customize it and use different code. For here, I used HTML for this. And it's more of a simple, you get to get the run of the mill. This is a lot more advanced of what I normally do. This took me about almost like maybe 3 or 4 hours to simply work on this little tab stuff, and it shows all the information of my characters and my lore and so forth. But this is a very, and you can find people who offer custom website codes and stuff and allow you to customize them. I do have a website that I have tabbed, and I will put in the description. If I make this a YouTube video, I'll put in the description of the YouTube video where you can click on it so you can use that website to practice code or edit the code and then add it to your toy house later. And you would most of the time on your create folder, just like a Google document, you have your bold, italicize, underline, strike through, and so on, and you get different fonts, different sizes, special characters, colors. You can change the colors of your text. You can add emojis, headings, spoilers. So spoilers is interesting. Just kind of like Discord. You're gonna, for example, let's say you have a spoiler to a story. We're gonna click on one of my characters here. We're gonna use you again. You can toggle the spoiler, and it will show you information that is a spoiler to a series. If, let's say, the character is like a fandom character, you would want to add a spoiler, or you just want to have information condensed, you can use a spoiler to help with that. But that's that, and so forth. I'm not gonna go too much into explaining just the typical stuff, but most of the time you will, if you are using code, you're going to be using code view, and it's HTML. All right, so that is folder, and let's say you've made a few folders by now, and you want to organize your characters. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your sort characters on the, so underneath your username, you're going to click on characters, because it will bring you to a different folder. You can do the same by going to settings, and then going to characters on the left side of your screen, and character settings. No. Oh. Okay. Okay, it's character tagger. I would still click on characters because it's a lot easier to get to the same page. You can click on the character, and let's say you want to move them to another folder here. So we want to move them to OC Vault, so we're going to move them there. And let's say, oh, I made a mistake. I didn't want to move them there. So you can click on that folder, click on the character again, and then move them to where you want them to be. We're going to put them back in unsorted just so I can show you how things work. Now, let's say you have a very specific vision for how you want your characters to look in the profile. we're going to use the old mascots here. We're going to use these guys. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to sort characters. You're going to scroll down and find the specific folder that you're looking for, and then you're going to move them around just like this. And whoa, that's crazy. And then you would save the order. And that's how you would organize your characters in folders. So that's a crash course on folders. We're going to continue to adoptables, and I think we already just went over organization of the profile. So how you're going to upload an adoptable is we're going to actually delete this character. You can delete your characters if you messed up. You would just click delete and then be yes, say yes. Make sure you don't have any extra things added on. You're going to have to make sure you clear things out when you delete the character. So we're gonna look over. We're gonna swap over to my other toy house, and we're going to show you how that works. And I will show you how to use different features here. So we're gonna go to submit character, and we're gonna go through the whole thing. So we're gonna pull up my character reference here. They have a little TV head. You can zoom in on the character, and let's say, originally, I was going to make them for free, so we're going to do that. But if you're making adoptables and designs, you are going to put the name. Let's say Fruit Iger Arrow Froggy. And then you're going to say, for me, I'm going to say freebie. Whoa! We're going to, or depending on different words that you're going to use, for me, I'm going to say fave to enter, or F2E. So then we're going to leave them in the unsorted folder. I like to do this for a lot of my designs. I newly post after a day or two. I then move them to the respective folders where I like to keep my designs, just because it's visible to a lot of people who come onto my account. They'll see this first, and maybe they'll consider buying it. All right, and we want them to be visible to the public. And we have specific tags for this character. Because they're a part of a specific species that I made, they're called froggies. So we're going to say froggy species, frog species, frog, and froggy. And we're going to say open species. This is a very specific community niche. And these are some tags that I use for these species. And we're going to also add freebie. And then fave to E. All right, awesome. And we're going to add some more information here. We're going to use all of the stuff. So here's the species. We're going to say froggy species. We're going to say the theme, and the theme is going to be Fruit Iger Arrow TV. And then the last thing, that's pretty much it. Okay. So then we're going to write instructions. So when you're making adoptables, if you're making a design, I'm going to show you an example of a design where I have specific instructions. For this one, I just say it's a $15 flat sale. I say what payment method I use. So I say PayPal, Venmo, or Ko-Fi. And then you say comment to claim. And then you can put any extra information that you want. Some people like to make their profiles really pretty. I kind of just post it, but if I'm doing big batches, I will end up posting a secondary adopt thing, which I will show you guys how I do that later. So, but we're just making its own profile, so we don't have to worry too much. I think the only thing I want to say is favorite this profile to enter. We want to say requirements to join. And then we're going to say favorite this profile to enter. And we're also going to say you must be subbed to my account. And I only let people enter my freebies if they are already subscribed to my account. Otherwise, it's not really fair to a lot of people who are following my account, who, join my freebies and my games and my raffles. But you don't have to do this. It is preferable. I would recommend you doing this if you decide to make a freebie. A lot of times these free designs are actually more advertisements for your account and your designs. So, and then let's say you want to say some extra stuff like, oh, I want you to check out these other designs. You can always say that. Let's say, because I am making a freebie, you can say, oh, you can get an extra entry if you favorite my other designs or check out my other designs. So you can do that. And we're going to say the deadline. The deadline is going to be, all right, let's see. When's my next off day? We'll do it on Sunday, the 26th. So we're going to say 4/26/2026. And then we're going to say, and then I don't have to specify time. I don't really care. I'm just going to close it when I feel like it. So that's the deadline. And then you're going to want to add the image of the character. And once again, put your specific terms. I like to say can regift, retrade, and resell. And this is very important because I'm going to show you what to do next after you post the design. So then we're going to go through, make sure our other stuff is good. We have the watermarks, we have my character credits, and I think we're good. So what we're going to do is then we're going to create the character. It takes a little second. Awesome, look at that. They're up, they're on here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add the character trade listing. So because you have to make sure the permissions show all the settings, you'll then be able to see this. So what you're going to do, for me specifically, we're going to put them up for raffle. They have any minimum maximum value. If you're selling a design, you will want to say sale for real currency. You can also sell them for virtual currencies such as DeviantArt points or video game currencies. Some people will do Roblox auctions and stuff for characters, or you can trade for other characters or art. There's offer to adopts, there's freebies, and there's also games and contests. So there's so on. We're going to be doing fave to enter. And the character has an anthro form. Depending on the adoptable that you're making, you will have like human or humanoid, furry, anthro, or feral. This is a way to help people find your specific design just through browsing. And is the character a closed species? This is important. No, this character is not a closed species. So we're going to then update the listing. As you can see, we already have like 2 people who have favorited. So next is important for this design here. Because they are a part of a community / world, I like to add them to the world because they're part of my own species called Froggy species. They belong to the world Nymphia Canidid. I like to add them to my world here. And this is just if you're a part of any communities or anything and you're collaborating with people or this or that, you would want to add the specific worlds with permission, of course, from the owners of those worlds. All right. Make sure you do your research before you do it, and make sure this, if you're making a design, make sure the species is open or free to use. All right, so that is how you make a design. Now let's say, oh man, I really want to advertise this design though, because I don't think I'm getting that much reach after posting it. So what we're going to do is on the top here, we have forums. So as we scroll through, it's a little overwhelming because there's a lot of different things here. I still don't venture too far other than the commerce area. This is pretty much where I stick to. But there's like games, there's like FAQs, there's like worlds, there's other different things. But we're mostly going to be focusing on the art marketplace, design marketplace, and the adopt center. So those are the 3 areas where you're mostly going to be using. So let's go to the design marketplace. So this is where if you just made a design and you want to showcase them, you want to advertise them, you're going to make a forum here. So we're going to create a thread, and then you're going to have your title here. So we're going to pretend we're going to go and be like, oh, free to enter character. Oh, by the way, this would actually technically go in art freebies, I think. But for this, if you're making a regular design that you're selling, you're going to say what kind of design. And then you would say if they're on sale for flat sale, you would put the money price here, and then you would put the information. And I would highly recommend adding the image to the description, because a lot of people will click on the if they do even click on the bulletin, they will most likely scroll away or click out if they don't see an image. If you put a link, people will most likely you will most likely lose people there. So what I am going to teach you is very important. So we're going to click on insert image, and let's say you have the design. It's important to post the design first, or whatever you're trying to advertise first, so you can have the image and the image doesn't disappear. So if you're trying to link images, sometimes they disappear on this website. It's a little glitchy. So we're going to click on this. We're going to copy the image address. This is why I recommend being on computer for a lot of this, because it's a lot easier to kind of modify. So look, we have our little character right here, and you can basically fiddle around with stuff. Inline just means you would have text here, and you can move the character image. In break text is just straight in the middle. So it just depends on how you want to show your image, but this is a great way. And then you would also make sure you have, like, you would create your thread when you post the design. I'm going to show you some of my threads and what they look like. So this is when I did my Silksong Architect dots. I made sure the image was the first thing that people saw, just so they can see with the adopts. They can scroll down and then they would get all the information. A lot of this is just a copy and paste from the profile that I made. I would do the same for the profile here. You would go through the same process you did for my tutorial of just posting a design in general. All right. And let's say, I want to post my commissions. So you would go to the art marketplace. This is where you sell your commissions. A lot of people have their commissions here. I'm going to show you what mine looks like. You would use the same thing. You would use threads. And let's see where I have commissions. I have Ko-Fi commissions. So this is what my Ko-Fi commissions look like here. Instead of having the pictures first thing, I give it more distinction by having my little page doll. I make it look all nice and pretty. I think this is the most important thing about when you advertise on these forums, is making sure they look appealing to people, because it's always the first few seconds when people click on your bulletin, even if they're interested. Some things to also get people's attention is by adding emojis, adding little sparkles and stuff, and people like to click on that. All right, so I have my important links. If you scroll down, you'll see my examples. I have GIFs of different icons here that I've done for different clients. I have more examples of my work here, and then I have my terms of service and so on. And you can make this as easy as possible. Most of my clients end up commissioning me through those specific websites. And if that happens and you don't get a lot of comments in your forums, that's fine. You can always use your comments to just showcase the commissions that you have finished for people on that offsite that you've used. All right. And then Adoption Center. So you're wondering what this is. So let's say I have a character that I bought from an artist and I lost connection to them, unfortunately. You would use this to advertise those characters that you've bought from somebody else, or who you've lost connection to. And I don't actually have an example, but there are people here who are like, here's some characters I'm putting up for sale, or I'm doing a purge on my toy house and I would like, oh, here it is. Here's an example right here. So here's my purge. Here's like the designs that I put up for sale. Some of these designs have already been sold, so I have to update this. But that's how you would do it. You would show the images of the characters. This is so important, in my opinion, is making sure you have images and stuff. And then there's more things to do in here, but those are pretty much the basics of just kind of navigating. If you're more interested in the trading aspect yourself, you can go to the search browse options from popular to recent to feed. That's if you're subscribed to anybody already, or you want to search a specific tag. I always like to look for Hollow Knight characters. I always do Hollow Knight tag, and then you can search that, and then you can see the different characters. Look, there's my character right there. All right, so that's pretty much what I focus on with Toy House, but there are so many different features here. these are the only features that I think are just kind of important just for learning Toy House before getting into anything else. If you're a writer, you then kind of look more towards the literatures and stuff. I'm not too well versed in literatures or how to use them. I've kind of just occasionally posted them when I've finished something for my creative writing class. So, um, but the last thing we're going to use is bulletins. So this is going to be the last part of the intro. I guess the quick, as fast as possible Toy House tutorial I could ever make, which is not that fast. So we would click on bulletin, you would have your subject, and then you would put your blurb. I recommend pretty much doing the same thing, making sure you have an image, you have a link, and a lot of times, because people have already followed you, you don't have to put that much effort and put images. But if you don't think your sale is going to do well, then maybe you could put an image. Or you can just talk about stuff. I know a lot of people who use bulletins to be like, hey, how are people doing? Or just kind of interaction bait or things like that. Sometimes I'll use it just to like be like, "Oh, what's your favorite color?" And then people will just kind of interact. It's kind of like a miniature your own little island of interaction. So, but I think that's all. That's all I have to say. I hope this wasn't too long. Let's check. Oh my goodness, it's 46 minutes. All right, I'm going to end this here. So that is my as fast as possible tutorial of Toy House, and feel free to refer to this video if you need. I honestly, a lot of my sales actually come from outsourcing rather than forums, but I occasionally get people who commission me from forums. A lot of it is using this page to then bring people to your website, and that is how you get more interaction and stuff. But but you can still, but just designing alone and posting designs and doing sales as well as freebies will get you noticed on on this platform. And a lot of people, there is a prevalent community for designs here. So, and also you can just use this for your character catalog. It doesn't really matter. It's awesome either way. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I will put links below for any resources relating to Toy House if I post this on YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, congrats, I did actually post the whole uncut raw footage of what I decided to make. And I hope this is good enough. So yeah, anyways, bye-bye. Thank you for watching.